Have you ever been in a season or a circumstance or a trial where you've been exhausted and hopeless? You really just want to quit, but you know that the only way through this situation to get to the other side is through what you're going through, to make it through. And you've wrestled with the Lord in it. Maybe you've called out to God, God, where are you in this? Why this circumstance? Well, Daily Dosers, it's good to be with you. My name's Kaira, and in this series, we are looking at perseverance. Today, we're going to look at 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verses 3 through 5. And in this letter to the church at Thessalonica, Paul is encouraging them to persevere. He's encouraging them because they're experiencing persecution, and he's reminding them of the persecution that Christ experienced. And so let's look together. Let's read in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verses 3 through 5. But the Lord is faithful, and he will strengthen you and protect you from the evil one. We have confidence in the Lord that you are doing and will continue to do the things we command. May the Lord direct your hearts into God's love and Christ's perseverance. Paul's reminding us that the perseverance comes from Christ and the strength comes from the Lord. And it can be a misnomer a lot of times in our Western culture to take our faith and think it's very individualized, that, okay, the Lord's going to strengthen me on my own, pull myself up by my bootstraps, and he's going to give me more physical strength to endure this, to white knuckle this situation. But really, it's very different from that. Paul is writing to an entire church of believers, and he's saying that our strength comes from the Lord's faithfulness. I'm reminded of the picture of a marathon runner, and at first glance, it can look like just one person on a race course. But really, if you think about the entire marathon process, that person usually has a team or a coach ahead of time getting them ready for what they're going to endure. Along the race, there are people there holding signs, telling them, don't give up, keep going, the end is in sight. There's people passing out water, Gatorade to hydrate them. There's medics on standby. There's pacers saying, keep up with me. There's people at the end of that race, that trial for that marathon runner, waiting for them. That marathon runner may experience leg cramps, stomach cramps, exhaustion, toenails bleeding. It is painful. It's something they are enduring, and yet they have encouragement all around them to sustain them, to remind them, don't give up, keep going. The end, there is a reward. And often at that end, there are people waiting to catch them, to carry them off the racetrack, to remove their feet, bandage their wounds, rehydrate them. They're not alone, and their strength comes from that whole community. You know, for our family in particular, our daughter was sick for 3 years, just chronically sick, and they could not figure it out. And eventually they did, and they said, yeah, she needs surgery. The best way to help her is to give her surgery. And we knew in that moment that our trial of persevering was about to get even harder, that we were going to have to push through and endure even more to get through surgery with a cranky, overtired, chronically sick, chronically miserable kid. And in those moments post-surgery, in the dark days of her recovery and pain, we had to administer medication every few hours, had to forcefully administer medication to give her something that she needed, even though she didn't want it. And in those moments, I was crying out to God, where are you? Did this have to be the way through? Is this really going to be worth it? Are we doing the right thing? Crying out to the Lord. And then the doorbell would ring. It would be people from our life group dropping off dinner in the kitchen and leaving. People dropping off breakfast. People coming to pick up our kid and take her to go play with other kids so she didn't have to endure on her own. And I just, beyond belief, was reminded that God's faithfulness, God's strength comes in the ways and places that he's left us, with the church, with his word, with his Holy Spirit. And so, Daily Dosers, I want to remind all of us today, would we direct our hearts into God's love and Christ's perseverance, because we were not meant to persevere alone. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.